Toastmaster Niharika Gupta, more than a mark sheet. More than a mark sheet, Toastmaster Niharika Gupta.
What is the first thing that comes to your mind in this time of the year? For me, it's just two words: board exams. How many of you feel the sense of pressure when you hear the word boards? Even if you've already written them, even if it's been years. But this five-letter word gives a very strange feeling. It has a very strong power. Today, it's almost 2 years since I wrote my 12th board exams. Yet every exam season, during this time of the year, I get a very specific feeling. A mix of nostalgia and pressure. Maybe because moments from that time are still very clear in my head. I suddenly get reminded of mornings that began earlier than usual, nights that ended later than planned, and study tables filled with books, notes, and a bag full of prayers, hopes, and expectations. Exam season looks the same everywhere. Students with serious faces walking into exam halls, parents waiting outside pretending to be calm, every home adjusting their routines based on the exam schedules. And when we talk about exam preparation, we get to hear this one common advice: follow a strict timetable. You wake up at 7, breakfast from 7 to 7:30, start studying from 7:30 to 9, hour after hour, subject by subject. You plan your entire timetable. But then when I think about it, I was not that kind of a person. And I know for a fact many of you here aren't either. Sitting beside the clock and forcing myself to switch subject by subject didn't actually work for me. I realized that productivity could mean different for different individuals. Instead of focusing on covering up multiple subjects on the same day, I would rather focus on the low hanging fruit, focus on subjects that I was better at, and maybe start revising them. So I followed this one particular strategy. Instead of timing my schedule minute by minute, I planned my tasks. Either the previous night or early in the morning, I would plan my entire day. I would decide on what subject I wanted to study and maybe how many lessons I wanted to cover. I gave myself one simple rule: no matter what, I would not sleep until I finished what I had planned. These self-made deadlines changed the game for me. It made my studying even more practical. It made it realistic. I was actually able to reap the true fruitfulness of my preparation. Also, I was no more counting on hours. I was not running against time. I was working towards a clear goal. And I realized that when we understand and figure out methods that work for us rather than copying someone else's routine or some routines that are rigid, we start developing confidence. Our efforts start becoming consistent, and it is this consistency that would help one pass through stressful exam seasons so conveniently. And this method that worked for me helped me pass my exam seasons very smoothly. And when I talk about board exams, I get reminded of my last board exam. The moment I finished writing, closed my answer script, and walked up to the invigilator, handing over that last exam sheet felt so surreal. I got reminded of all the efforts that I had been putting through. I had a sense of relief, a sense of excitement, but a silence inside me, in my heart. I remember thinking, oh, this is it. This is the last time I'm writing a board exam ever in my life. and I walked out of the exam center. I remember playing with colors, with water, with my friends, that my friends somehow managed to sneak inside because why not? It was end of board exams. It was end of school life. It was end of 12th. And of course, Holi was around that corner. We were enjoying, we were celebrating freedom. But beyond all this fun, there was one quiet realization. No more of studying these subjects like this. This was the last time we were memorizing answers, underlining keywords, and asking our teachers, "Ma'am, what are the important questions?" Expecting questions to come up from chapters that we studied the most. I realized a very beautiful life chapter was coming to an end. So that is when I realized that it is how necessary there is for individuals to figure out anything that works for them rather than resonating it with something that is publicly accepted. That is what I want you all to take with you today too. There is no need for you to have perfectly rigid timetables. No need to study in a way that others are doing. The only thing that you have to do is figure out a way that works for you. Make realistic deadlines that you can honor, and most importantly, trust your effort. Because when the colors are faded, the papers are submitted, and the results are out, you realize something important. You are more than a mark sheet. Thank you. Over to the TM Modi.
So, may I call upon the second evaluator, for the prepared speech of Toastmaster Niharika Gupta, distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon, to share the evaluation for her speech. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Toastmaster Priyank. Very good morning again to everyone. Toastmaster Niharika Gupta's speech, which took me actually back to my school term when we were also writing exams, and the speech title, which was very, very apt for that occasion, which says more than a mark sheet. The way you explained the entire environment that goes around a school student's life when writing a board exam was very vividly presented to us when you said mornings that never seem to end and nights that end very soon, okay? Which was true in most cases because you used to study a lot and the studies to when will this all get over? And then when you had to sleep, when you said very quick nights. So the moment you sleep, you get up and you say, well, it's already morning. The bookshelf or the book table riddled with books, we don't know what to read. So you said the conflict which says, what should I study? When should I study? What do I kind of study? Right? How much should I study? End of the day, of all that I study, what will I go and write in the papers? So that was a dilemma which is there in every student's mind when they go to write an exam, and which you talked about, brought out very clearly with the choice of the right sentences and words. Even if I study something, I would still need to rely on prayer, okay? Because that is what we all believe in. Okay? Is that even if I've studied, I know everything, I should still pray before I go write an exam. And it's not only you that is praying, it's your parents and well wishers also who are praying, because they want to ensure that you get good marks in the exam and you come with flying colors. Because for everyone, that board exam at school is kind of a stepping stone to your future journey in life. And a lot of people do compare success or failure in a board exam with the overall success and failure of an individual, to say if you have not done well in the board exams, you will not do well in life. I have also gone through that story in my life where people will say, not good marks in a board exam, well, you're not going to do well in life. Whether I did well in life or whether I did not do well in life, only I know. Okay. But I'm very sure that had got nothing to do with my board exam marks. But what you talked about is a very clear example of how students struggle during the board years. how do you write an exam, what goes on behind preparation, what goes on behind that struggle to say, how do I crack the right answers uh, on the exam. So all of that you brought out very clearly in your speech with the use of the right, uh, I would say, body language and the right choice of sentences, keeping it very simple and also relating an incident which each one of us could be very, very clear about. What you could improve, I would say, is things to say, tell about what was the outcome when you did pass. Okay, did was all that effort worth what you got as marks at the end of the day, and how did that help you, that result of good marks, not so good marks, how did it help you in your future career? So if you can incorporate that particular point also in your speech, it would make it an even more complete speech. Otherwise it was perfect for somebody explaining the trauma, no, I would not use the word trauma, the challenges that goes behind a board exam preparation. It was a story that was easily understood by each one of us, and it was very well presented. Thank you, and back to you, Janali.